Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Sunday evening, 6:30 p.m. my time. Mr. Betcher's 8:30. John, our guest today, is at 9:30, I think, on the East Coast.
Yep.
Welcome to Break. What's that?
So it was agreeing. It's
Oh,
9:30 p.m. 9:40. Yeah.
yeah, Miss Berlin would be here, and she's also East Coast, but she's coming back from Blue Team Con, which we'll hopefully get an update from her in the next couple days on that on the next show. But yeah, so it's breaking down security. It's Sunday night. Like to thank everybody for being on chat and streaming with us. Thank you, Bill, for your subscribing with your Prime Gaming. Appreciate that. You Everyone who does Prime account gets a free subscription that they can give to their favorite streamer, like me or Mr. Betcher. So yeah, we're just here. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. John, we've had on before. If you didn't check out our discussion with him and Jared Brennan before, you can go and check that out on our YouTube VODs. Very entertaining discussion and worth time if you can go back and check those out. So, John, how you doing? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brian. And thank you. It's been pretty busy. It is
Oh yeah,
9 p.m. and
yeah,
it's
nice.
Sunday.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad we fit it in.
Yeah, cool. You and I were talking before Mr. Betcher got here that you actually went to Hacker Summer Camp. Hopefully, you didn't get Legionnaire's disease like what I heard about a couple of hundred folks did, sadly. What was your thoughts on Hacker Summer Camp this year? Did you go to Black Hat, DEF CON, and B-Sides, or did you just go to DEF CON and or anything else?
Just DEF CON. And I haven't been to DEF CON since 2001.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I attended of the 5 days DEF CON, I went to days 2, 3, and 4
Hmm.
and did LobbyCon effectively, as
Right.
it's called nowadays, and just schmooze with people.
Okay.
Mainly the hallway and the main street, because the main thing I have heard about DEF CON this year was how widespread it was in the large vicinities, that it was multiple hotels and multiple venues and actually like a gigantic area.
Right. Right. Yeah, I had made it down to Caesars, I think, on Wednesday night, and then they closed the strip for construction, and I had to get back to the Luxor, which is almost 2 miles away. And thankfully, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and not in the middle of the day. So it was still a trek, but it was a different. It was less painful. But yeah, I found it even the pre the Black Hat stuff. You it was very spread out and there was a lot of people there. Yeah, I would have had trouble keeping track of everything that was going on. There was stuff at the Flamingo, and there people were going to there were several in that area that you could go to, and I was like, yeah, there's too much of too much, and that doesn't include the subcons that were going on as well.
Yes, it was a great thing to occur. They'll be
Right.
next year. And I think the airline conversation was in the airport on all of us elders on whether we would go again or not
Right.
and what we thought about this year. And some of us elders haven't gone in the duration that I haven't gone or longer. Some of us attended every other year and see the the new path every year,
Hmm.
the new way.
Right.
I didn't go to Black Hat. I don't think well, not that hip.
Mm.
Um,
I couldn't afford it.
I don't. Yeah, right. Right. I
Hey, if a vendor pays me to go, I'll go. But
Right. Right.
yeah, I can't
Right.
afford it.
Yep. Right.
I'd rather pay for RSA.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. I guess being the okay. So before we get too far down the line here, John, as he's taking a drink, I'm about to ask him a question. John, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and why it'll become apparent why RSA would make more sense for you. I think.
Likely is a good question. So I'm currently running into issues, Brian, that my volume of myriad trade names are what they are.
Hmm.
I've had for a while now. My Twitter one, X now, isn't the same as other stuff, as other websites, forums, otherwise.
Right.
It's totally no good that I had an account on breached.vc,
Hmm.
hunting the hunters. I've been in the InfoSec spaces from like when I was a kid, like a while ago, and
Right.
stopped in 2007. I proverbially closed the laptop and walked away. I went outside. I came back in 2013 to assist with a few efforts, and here I am now assisting defending Five Eyes and defense and counter offense
Right.
of a myriad of stuff. I think you saw, maybe remember my presentation in San Diego.
Hmm.
The
Oh, yeah.
presentation we'll deliver at Security B-Sides in Montreal in 2 weeks isn't that presentation at all. It intersects your own identity, and it wasn't built like that. And
Right.
what small percentage you can do to contribute.
Yeah.
It's the hacker circles, like most other groups, wash out. The core group, the core nucleus of thought, the common thought, the street commons, it just dilutes. It gets diluted with more people.
Right.
And we were talking earlier on how we as people were all pretty inclusive to bringing in anyone who wanted to show up, right? But nowadays we have vetted selfies you can take of like validating your identity. And we already did that. We already didn't care if you were an animal or if you were a guy or a lady, or like it didn't matter. We didn't
Right.
care if you were trans. We didn't care if you were bi. We didn't care. You're interesting. You were here, right? That's what we cared about.
Right.
That's probably the pollution of the whole everything. And part of RSA is that I made technology that is not network flow focused. And I can walk the hallways at RSA and see all the vendors trying to pitch me to use their solution that lives not in pejorative user land, but lives outside of where I built technology that really doesn't do what I do.
Right.
So the price for admission of RSA is lower than Black Hat.
So
And
you,
better conversations at RSA.
yeah. So the vendors that are at RSA and those areas, would you argue that there's a larger attack surface in the as we talked about before in the Ring 3 area? Because one of the topics that I had added up here was that we have too much automation, but it's because Ring 3 has, I would say, 10x the surface attack area that like Ring 0 might have, or like bare metal or UEFI or BIOS. BIOS almost, well, I'm not even gonna talk about that because you've written the book on a lot of that. But there's more surface area there. You've got APIs, you've got web, you've got operating systems, you've got cloud. I mean, all of it is after, like you said, after you log in, right? It's that's where the trouble begins, is after you log in.
That's, yes, the human element. It's the human element in the loop.
Right.
We've learned how to exploit that human element. I think people like Brian and I, and the two Brians here, we need another John, but we're good at mitigating that loop. There was a Twitter posting a while ago of when I say colleague, I probably don't know the guy, driving whatever that was out of Tacoma going south towards California,
Mm-hmm.
who was effectively hoodwinked from attackers and only paused when the request to validate their like passport number or their 3-digit credit card number, where it was like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't add up.
I remember that Twitter free. Yeah, I can't remember who did that, but yeah, I do remember that. I think that person was showing an example that anybody can be hacked, no matter who they are.
It was a notable hacker in the group.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. If I did, I wouldn't get mentioned anyhow, but it was
Yeah.
a notable hacker. And he was like, I went through this and I almost was hoodwinked, but
Yep.
I am who I am and I'm pretty good.
Yep.
And we try to learn from our experiences.
Yep. So I said my first topic was, is InfoSec over reliant on automation? As we come, Mr. Betcher and I, we do podcasts based on, when we first started this, based on things we see from people, from things we see on Twitter or things we might notice at work. And one of the things that I've noticed about work is the idea of the security drought, and where you'll have certain teams that have an overabundance of tools. It's like they can just sit down, bang out a brand new tool, or you go to a DEF CON and every talk has a tool, right? Every talk has an automated tool, whether it be the Bloodhounds of the world or I use Metasploit as an older example, but, tools and automation has been pretty much how you get a talk at a conference these days. There's there are more than a handful of talks that come out with like, oh, we got this tool and this is a new tool and this is another tool and this is another tool. We have an overall. Go ahead.
A lot of tools are easy to make at a con. They're all Python scripts. They're all Perl scripts. They're all Python scripts. You wish they were Perl scripts,
Right?
Or they're bash scripts. There are contests. In the National Capital Region organizational buildings that award contests that take about a week or two to run. And the award there is $10,000.
Nice.
And to that end, you can't build you can't build what I built for $10,000. Right?
Right.
You couldn't do it at a con in a day. I mean, you wish you could.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'd be nice if we get to that automation level.
Yeah.
Where it makes it accessible. But like we were talking before this all began, usually those automation tools run off of some Python executable.
Right.
On bare metal.
Right.
Or it's a Kubernetes Ansible thing and it's still running off of a executable.
Yep.
And it's that level of tamper-proof automation we don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing is
challenge.
It is a challenge because with all of the industry now, it seems like it's cool to do riffs and to do layoffs and what have you. There's a lot of teams that are getting clobbered, and you're finding out, oh, well, we didn't have documentation for half the stuff that team used to manage or to run. And, if these tools are being created internally, documentation may or may not exist. Probably closer to may not exist. And if you're building these tools and they're operationally critical, or it's part of a workflow, or it's part of hey, developers are supposed to run this tool and it's going to help them find XYZ, and somebody has to make changes to these tools, it just feels like we're going to hit a point where teams are going to have to decide whether or not they want to continue building these tools, and it may be something they'll continue to do anyway. Or, there may be an opportunity for more sales from teams that, from companies that, make drop-in stovepipe solutions. But yeah, I'm just, I'm not the only one. There's been other people that have said, hey, I'm seeing this where, we had to fix something and we didn't have any understanding of how it worked. And we had to go in and basically do code audit to understand or, disassemble it and figure out how it worked. And then, well, we could tweak this and, we brought down a server farm or, it's like, okay, it's real finicky, and I think we're starting to understand there's a need for documentation because everybody's expendable. And if you're building security tooling or document your stuff as if you're not going to be there tomorrow.
You mentioned one thing that brought an idea is when I was at RSA and leaving the company and identity mostly anonymous, but the comment back really was, how would we eat? What would we sell if we actually solved the issue? Like I have solved the issue. How would you eat? How would you afford to eat tomorrow? If there's not a further problem to solve, what's going to help bring food to my table?
I might actually have an answer to this one, but Mr. Betcher, do you have a thought?
That reminds me of that place we used to work at where the company was built on a support team, right?
Yep. Yep.
And the system was so old and it ran so well. There were 2 bugs in the system, and that was it. Those 2 bugs manifested every week or 2, and the support team would fix it. They moved on. The people who own the software or own the system, they didn't want to fix it. They didn't want to spend the money to fix those 2 bugs. Then the program would be perfect, right? But then they would be getting rid of their support team. There would be no need for the support team. And just in case something broke, wouldn't be there.
Right.
So, and then another whole company was built on that, supporting a system that practically ran itself.
Right. Right.
I mean, I'm in Westlake, Ohio, and there's on the internet, it's available unless you want to have it forgotten, but it's there. And this organization likely brought automation and got rid of the human capital, also known as layoffs.
Yep.
Also known as forced firings.
Yep.
It's a worldwide company, and they can hire elsewhere cheaper. Also known as company sustainability, which I do not disagree with these guys. I would have done the same thing.
Yep.
Stick around. Don't fix those 2 bugs. Keep people here.
Right. So John, to your point, the how will we eat? There's no shortage of companies out there that have created solutions to problems that don't exist. Or, through their marketing cycles have created problems that we just happen to have the solution to. I think you're going to be able to eat because you're going to find a problem that doesn't exist, or make a problem that doesn't exist, and create a solution for a problem that, with the right marketing, you can sell, ice to penguins. So
Spot on. There was marketing, and then there was an invited meeting, and I asked to stick around to that meeting and listen to this company's pitch. Their marketing is completely opposite of what they actually do.
Sure.
And it's all comfortable stuff. And like, no kidding. At least one person on the planet knows. Like, that's what you actually do.
Yep.
And it's what you write on paper. Where the comment I get, Brian, is, well, your website says a little bit. It skirts around the issue. It says a little bit. What does it actually do? How does it actually do that?
Right.
Yeah. See
And
that all the time.
that's questions I don't answer because that's the IP, that's the whole process.
But it also makes them want to contact you for more information. So there's a bit of social engineering there. So it's like, I can open a dialogue with that organization.
Yes. Yes. And then to the other issue, the two bugs, this code base, I'm lucky enough to have audited by a member of the C++ Foundation. And it's kind of goofy. I probably can't do it again. It's kind of lengthy one-liner command. But the JPEG it spits out is roughly like 80,000 pixels long by 100 pixels wide. And you can actually see the threads not collide as the process continues on. It's kind of awesome. But
Right.
you couldn't actually print that. Maybe a dot matrix printer, but who has those anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't think we've ever, I don't think I've ever asked you exactly what Thor is. From what I've gathered, it has to do with UEFI and BIOS, and we've had a couple of folks on who've been investigating biosecurity and UEFI and the idea of the naughty maid or the bad maid attacks or what have you. But and you're not sponsoring the show. For those people listening, he's not a sponsor of the show. But John is a very interesting person, and I've never actually asked him what Thor is. I've seen it on the website. So Thor, how does your product protect computers? So we're entering into a dialogue because you've got me interested now. You've socially engineered me and gotten on the show, which is great. You've socially engineered me. It's all good. What exactly does Thor bring to the table?
I'd say defense and counter-offensive tamper-proof assurance that you own your own data, guarding against threats tomorrow, today. So you can actually trust the machine you're speaking on.
Okay. So it's a reverse zero trust. It's reverse zero trust. Instead of you trusting the server, the stuff you're working on.
Yeah, it fills gaps in zero trust where we mentioned analogous things before the show.
Right.
Equating apples and apples. A lot of paper is worth a lot of other paper. A lot of ideas can go on paper. Those ideas are really difficult to implement.
Okay.
And so this defensive, counteroffensive technology is digitally signed in the UFI.
Okay.
Where you can't modify the UFI or our technology without the whole system knowing.
Okay.
I think we need to build an Easter egg that if you do happen to hack either of those, it gives you a Bitcoin. Bravo, you did it. You win.
Nice. Okay.
Your street address, we'll email you. Kind of like those original virus writers that are in, I think, Islamabad.
Yeah.
That they actually, I forget the guy's name. He actually went to, I think, Pakistan or Afghanistan. I forget the city, and could visit the creators of this virus that was hip virus back then, because they put the street address of how to contact them in the virus.
I didn't.
Michelangelo virus, I think, or something another famous one. I don't remember.
Okay.
I think it's it could be
Mikko Hipponen, 10-minute video reportage on his trip to Lahore, Pakistan to find the authors of the first PC virus, Brain. Wow.
Yeah, Lahore. Yeah.
Was that one that spread from floppy drive to floppy drive? No, back in those days?
Don't remember. I had viruses that were transmissions on telephone wire, binary stuff on the cable. I had tequila on a computer. I had others. I remember Tequila because it was the first one I had. A lousy thing. I get into the BIOS and did a few things, and the master boot record. That's where it played.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. There it is. Cool. All right.
Still
So I
in
was.
Pueblo, their street address there. You can visit them if you want to. They're still in
That's cool.
business.
Huh. Are they still writing viruses in this case, or what? I mean,
They're still the consultancy.
okay. Wow. I'd imagine the first virus was a way to, actually get work done or something like that. I got the YouTube video right there, so we put it in our chats. I actually gave a shout out to Miko on the post here from you. So that was pretty cool. I actually didn't think I would be able to find that in Google, but I Googled it well enough, I guess. So,
Thank you.
so we're talking about zero trust. We're talking about technology. One of the things that has kind of bothered me is the fact that security people have harped on, we've harped on things for years, and by the time adoption happens, the technology's dead, right? Tougher passwords, first it was firewalls and, ACLs and, you should use users in groups if you're back in the Unixy days or what have you, harder password requirements. And then it's like, oh, okay, now we can crack any password in 10 seconds because, we have the technology to do so. Now we've moved to 2FA and everybody's like, oh, great. 2FA is going to solve our problems. And then we have like evil proxy, which will bypass 2FA controls. And it's like, by the time we get people on board with 2FA, it's going to be useless. And so it's like, what is the next solution that we should be thinking about for authentication, authorization, ownership, controls, those kinds of things? Is there anything being thought of, in that, has been started working on, or,
These things have a vulnerable SMS, like your SMS chip in it.
Right.
No one's guarding that. I mean, my software works on these things we call mobile phones. It's a computer. It's a quad core machine. It's faster than this machine. And
wow.
Go figure, right? And
right.
You're going to rely on two-factor when the attackers, they already know your behavior, courtesy of all the other breaches. We were talking about one of my blog posts with letters of Marque on the trials and triples within the letters of Marque.
Mm-hmm. Right. And yes, we
probably more to fix if they actually enabled the letter of Marque. Because you're not dope anymore firing off cannonballs. You're actually possibly annoying some nuclear operator in Serbia, and oops, I hit that key.
Right.
And that's going to push the thing towards it. Yeah, let that go. Don't make up stuff that's going to occur in the future, right?
Yeah. I think Mr. Betcher and I, one of our earliest conversations had been about hacking back. I believe it was with Kevin Johnson, and letters of Marque, or being able to deputize people. And John and I talked a little bit about this before the show as well. It's like, who is they? In terms of who's going to be issuing those, who are the people that are going to be able to receive those letters of Marque, and what kind of extrajudiciary powers do they have? My worry is, and I could get a letter of Marque because I'm just Joe Nobody, but I know my way around Burp Suite, so I can get a letter of Marque, and I'm going to go poke around on the Russian version of Facebook because I just want to go do that. It's fun, and I'm going to do that on my work computer. I'm going to do that on my work computer because I'm an idiot, and I'm going to end up causing more harm than good. And my thought was, whoever issued me this letter of marque is now going to have to go and fix my issue. And you had talked about geopolitical issues, potential warheads on foreheads, because, you know, Joe Blue Team, who, you know, watched, you know, hackers the other night, thinks like, you know, they can drop shell on something and from their work computers with, you know, no worries, and then it's going to cause issues. The more I think about the letter of marque thing, the more I think it's probably a bad idea, because InfoSec people are kind of stupid.
Yeah, and the more we talk about it and the more I've been thinking about it, I think that needs to be taken down.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, I think that there's probably 1% of 1% of InfoSec people that could do exactly what you're saying. Those people have never been on my show. Well, minus you, of course. But
there's a related note conversation, which I can't go too deep on, but there's a large breach out there in recent history. And if you take 100 people in the room, 90 of them were in the breach report. 10 of them were not.
Okay.
Where are those people? And those people had to leave.
Right.
That's purposefully an empty statement, but it's that method of education gap.
Right.
That even if we know what we're doing. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Why did they have to leave?
The proverbial leave. The proverbial leave, where they weren't in the breach report.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They should have been. They weren't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's.
It's probably a disaster with their education gap, and even with what the three of us know. I've been running cross-country races my whole life. I recently did a 5:47 1 mile. Youth still wins it going sub 5 minutes per mile. There's always going to be someone faster, better, more skilled. There's always going to be someone better.
Yeah, see, you beat my ass on. Yeah, you beat my ass on the run. I can do like a 6-minute kilometer. So, you know, I'm 44 years old and I'm not an avid runner. So the fact that I can get under, you know, 10 minutes on a mile is good for me. So
I totally used a carbon shoe, and I knowingly slowed going downhill. I could have been sub 5:30. I was happy 5:47.
I could be sub 5 minutes going down a hill too if I'm running that. So unfortunately, it'd be mostly uncontrolled and head over heels. But, you know.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Right. So you mentioned education. I've mentioned this on our... You know, yeah, the education gap. So how do we fill that education gap? Because right now, with the advent of things like AI, ML, all that shit that we're going to be using to automate the simple stuff, which normally would be what we'd have the noobs do, or the people who are unfamiliar with InfoSec, you know, what kind of jobs are going to be there for the people that are new to InfoSec? Because, you know, AI and ML is going to figure out all of our SOC stuff, so we don't need SOC analysts anymore. You know, are they going to come from IT? I mean, what's the future going to look like for somebody trying to get in InfoSec when AI and ML is taking all the entry level stuff?
That's a grand question. When AI is going to be doing it, I guess your entry level person is going to make sure the AI engine is doing the AI engine should be doing.
Okay.
Instead of watching it go across the screen,
right?
They're watching that analytic binary, making sure it does what it does.
Right. We'll just all be code tuning AI monkeys or whatever, instead of, you know, hacking code and stuff like that. So, Mr. Betcher, what's your thoughts on that? You know, from the education point of view, when you bring new people in, what are you teaching them?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's going to be the newbies who are going to be the ones playing with the AI. I think it's going to be the more advanced
Mm,
security folks
There
keeping
was
Right.
the thing running, because it's going to take an accelerated or an advanced level of knowledge to understand how it works and to manipulate it in such a way that it's actually doing a benefit to the company you work for, right? It's going to take a higher level of understanding to actually understand it.
mm.
And that may push out new security folks, right? They'll be coming in, but AI is taken over, but it's going to take a higher level of education. You're going to have to, instead of an inch deep and a mile wide, or even an inch deep and an inch wide, you're going to have to be a mile deep in order to actually get to play with and understand AI.
Well,
So
I,
that's what I think. It's going to take a more advanced mind to uh, make it affordable to the company that owns the system, the tool, right, that uses AI for defense or hacking.
until we decide to automate that, but it's like, okay, new person, here's the 5 boxes you can tick, or yeah. We'll automate the tuning of the AI process eventually, I think, or the AI will tune itself, and then we won't need a senior person doing that.
But to that end, the education necessary to get on to hack the box was to hack the system to gain entry to hack the box dot whatever it is.
Right.
They took that away. It was too difficult.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I was told that was actually harder than some of the boxes that were on Hack the Box. So I was like, oh, okay.
My account went dormant and was disbanded, and then they deleted it. It's like, it's okay, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Stay in touch, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what we keep talking about talent shortages, and the problem is we don't hire junior people. That's a fallacy. People who say that they want junior people, it's like 1% thing, right? There are and the jobs that they want junior people for, they want people with knowledge, which is not complete new. We cannot now, as security people, pick up somebody right off the street and teach them security. Even though we like to believe that we can, we don't hire that way. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we don't have the time to train those people. But AI is going to take over a lot of that stuff, I think. Whether it be consultancy, who are you going to hire for, as a junior person in consultancy when you can automate port scans and you can do all the low level stuff that you would normally have somebody do as a junior. I don't know what hiring is going to look like for security in about 5 to 10 years if we keep going down this route with AI. So the old entry to HTB
is going to be a bit different.
Yeah.
I mean, we're forecasting. I'm involved in other conversations forecasting military operations in 2040, 2030.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot different.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed about Black Hat and DEF CON was I didn't see, and not to be ageist because I'm 44 years old, I'm almost 45, but I don't see a lot of young people at those conferences.
No,
there's a lot
45. They're all this age.
Yeah. That's concerning as well. And it's more profitable to be a bug bounty researcher than it is to be a security person.
Probably.
Oh, I can attest.
The youth I did see were, I guess, normal youth, shell-shocked youth. I mean, I guess Vegas at a prominent hacker summer camp party overwhelmed them. And I guess it was overwhelmable.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't have a hard count of the number who showed up to DEF CON, maybe 38,000 people. That's not
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's easy to witness a lot of stuff. And then to that end of DEF CON, I put on the old interwebs that Hack the Sat number 4 occurred,
Yep.
which was
Yep.
monumental. I mean, that was, I think I added on LinkedIn how incredible that was to me. And how this loose confederacy, if that, kind of grew up. And now it has full civilian clothed DoD personnel at the event administrating Hack the Sat. It took 4 years to do that, which is Uncle Sam doing what Uncle Sam normally does, taking 4 years to do that.
Yep.
But it's that style of growing up that the conference really became. In 2001, I could never foresee that. That was a huge thing.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine speaking about the DoD stuff. They're taking, it used to be when I was in the Navy, they had certain levels, like after 36 years old, you couldn't join. And now if you have any kind of cyber background, they'll take you as an officer directly from, I could come back as a lieutenant or lieutenant commander, because I'm prior enlisted. I've had, government work. I worked as a DoD civilian, but I could come back in, not even OCS. It's like I dub thee Lieutenant Brake, and I'm like, whoa, except they pay dick, but
Right. Yeah. You're almost invited to.
Right.
Where I never served for other ideological reasons. I offer to help out, but I think our country isn't configured, set up to take that conversation. They don't do that. They don't do that yet.
Yeah, I just found it interesting that the recruiting one is down because they can't get their numbers, obviously, but the other one is that they're taking. What's that?
Tail there. The older thought I've heard from 60 and 78-year-olds is the amount of people watching television of the Wounded Warrior, which don't get me wrong, but that could have a little hand in retention.
Yeah. I found my was it my cousin? I want to say he was a recruiter or something, but he's like, yeah, they're taking anybody, and you have a degree and you have skills. The problem is, it's like hiring for CISA right now. I saw that. I had a couple of friends trying to hire up for CISA, and it's a pain in the ass to get into CISA. Like there's tech track tests, and obviously there's the obligatory drug test that most hackers would probably not be able to pass for obvious reasons. And of course the criminal background for a lot of them is something somewhat problematic. But yeah, it's I'm not worried about InfoSec in the future, but I'm glad I made the move to PM work when I did, because I don't know what the job would look like in 5 years. Mr. Betcher, you're working for corporate right now. You're not hiring, obviously, like most everybody is. They're still in a hiring freeze, but what do you expect your job to look like in 5 years? Are you going to be moving to a new career? Or are you going to be moving into more people management? What does it look like for defense? Are you going to have to embrace the AI and the MLs?
It's going to get tougher. There's going to be more tools. When we built LogMD, there was nothing like it, really.
Right.
And I think the EDR industry, it's EDR now, even though I don't know what that is, truthfully, the EDR space is so good. Yeah.
I found this the other day. Yeah.
When you moved, yeah.
This may contain malware. I don't know if it does. I'm still not plugging it in. It's NRFB, never removed from wrapper or whatever. So I'm not gonna check that out. But yeah,
there will be more tools. I mean, there's companies, in order to get their business, they require you to have cyber insurance. So it's in the contracts, right? So I see that as kind of sucking from the security budget, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, we have this amount budgeted, but now we have to take half of it or more and give it to cyber insurance.
Right.
Instead of hiring great people to help defend our company, we're just going to have to siphon that off just in case. And sad but true. Now, as far as how it's going to look in 7-10 years, again, I think it's going to be tough for newbies to come on and really make a difference unless they're specialized in a tool, right? Oh, I know how to run a SIM because I've been trained. I went to school on running SIMs, right? That was my major, right, in the cyber program at my school. So you hire one of those to manage that, right?
Right.
Yeah, my specialty was identity. So they know it's more siloed, right? It's more siloed.
Yep.
In the future. And so you're not going to have those people that okay, you want me to work on Active Directory, I can go do that. You want me to work on the SIM, I can do that. Oh crap, there's an attack. Let me go see in email, like, okay, I'm going to go in and delete this email from everybody's account. And I'm going to go check the SIM to see who was affected by that email. And then I'm going to go look where that email came from. Did anybody else get this attack? And kind of what we do now and what we've done in the past is to take all those security things, those security tools, and most of them weren't even security tools. They were IT tools, like your MDM, right?
Yep.
Push things out, okay, let me write a quick PowerShell script and push it out to these 100 machines to make sure they're not infected, right? Because I know the IOCs, and you won't have people that can do all those things. They're going to be specialized, right?
Right.
And then it's going to take somebody old like us to coordinate, right, between the disparate people. Like, okay, I'm going to write this script for you. I want you to push it out. Right. I'm going to write this query for you and I want you to go, execute it. Right. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take somebody who's tired of doing SIM work and go work on EDR. And then they get tired of EDR and they go to identity. And it's going to take those people, as they get older, they've touched all those different areas.
Yep. So John, you work in a fairly niche industry.
Go
ahead.
But it makes being a newbie terrible. You never get the job then.
Right. I mean, we already say we already say at conferences that we have like hiring Ms. Bat and those folks. They have at conferences like Blue Team Con, which just finished. They have like career. Here's how to write your resume, that kind of thing. They have tracks, or they have sub conferences or workshops on how to write a resume so you can get hired. As I mentioned, I don't know, on a stream, I think Digital Warhead was probably on that stream. We haven't fixed the hiring problem. We're teaching people how to hack the hiring system instead of fixing the hiring pipeline problem with the companies themselves. We're teaching people what to say so that they can get hired without fixing the problem, because they assume that we don't know how to get hired. It's the other way around. They don't know how to hire us.
I've seen those videos from these they're good videos. They're well done. I think the person in question is former PsyOps Army.
Mm-hmm.
They're good videos. But they're teaching you how to apply.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I have nothing against Ms. Batt and them teaching us how to hack the system, because that's what we do. The problem is all the media people saying there's a talent shortage. There's not a talent shortage. It's companies don't know how to hire people, or they don't know what they want to hire. And I've actually talked to people who have startups that, I think it was a video game company my friend works for, and I was like, well, if you're having to hire a security person, what would they need to know how to do? And after he rattled off about 5 or 6 different things, I realized he needs a unicorn because that's what his company has in a technology stack. Oh, we need to know Kubernetes, and they need to know this, and they need to know Amazon, and they need to know GCP, and they need to know all this. And I'm like, you're not going to find somebody with all that shit. So you need to pick 1 or 2 things that you can, you need right now, prioritize. I need somebody who knows GCP. I need somebody who knows containers. I need somebody who knows, and hire that person. You're the container person right now, but yeah, they want the kitchen sink because those are the things that they've asked 5 different teams. What do you need as a security person? And that person doesn't exist. So what we have to do is hack the system to say, okay, I know a little bit about all of these things, but I'm not a master of any of these things. It's almost like the generalist in me, who was told I couldn't get hired because I was a journalist, is now back in vogue. You need to know a little bit about everything. So, but yeah.
Like you were mentioning, Brian, that you just need to know C++ ASIO boost.
Yeah, I just need to know C++. Okay, I'll
Yeah, and that's difficult to find in itself too.
Right. So, okay, John, question to you. You need to hire a junior person. What kind of skills would a junior person need to know work at your company? Do you even have junior level positions, or do they all need to know C++ and name their firstborn Rust and all that?
Close. Yeah, they kernel level C.
Okay.
I use Boost ASIO for transmission of protocols. That's a niche thing. Beyond that, it's Kubernetes and Ansible. Accessible things. C# for other stuff. But then again, niche C programmers for FPGA. Field programmable gate arrays that we put into small sats or low Earth orbit.
So you can't teach that kind of stuff. See, that's the other thing. If you want to hire junior people, they have to be some kind of level of ramping up, but there's no ramping up. That's the other issue.
Well, SpaceX.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense.
It's reality.
Right. So, what have we learned today?
Back to what does a company do? How do they hire someone? Well, I think depending on the size of your company, you're just going to have to hire a CISO and rely on that talent to hire the talent. It comes down to that. You want to build a security program, or do you just want to piecemeal some ideas together and hope for the best? Right? You need somebody who's extremely experienced in security in many ways, top to bottom. It's hard to find.
We need to recognize. We need to recognize creativity. It's not security. You need to recognize people that are curious, that have a creativity to be curious.
That sounds good.
The London Economic School, Leeds, had an article in 2012, I think it is, on all their entry-level engineers would take these things when it broke and throw it away. One of them, maybe 10 of them, of the 1,000, would actually take it apart and see what it does.
Yeah.
It's that quality of being curious that we are not good at recognizing, harnessing, or teaching others to mimic that curiosity.
Right. Right. And that's
So-
where Ms. Bat is trying to teach people how to hack their resumes to put the creativity in as a marketable skill. Because you can't say, I enjoy taking shit apart and trying to put it back together. Or, I enjoy taking, I'm naturally inquisitive. Okay, how does that, how does HR, get that to funnel into the system? That's why it's so difficult to hire, I would say, many security people, because we're naturally, we're raccoons in the trash. We want to investigate everything and see what's going on.
Yeah, we're normally not good communicators. We don't really, I mean, some of us, how do I say this? So a lot of us don't collaborate well with others.
Ah, yes, the silos.
I was definitely, yes, the political silos, not the economic. I mean, I was at the Catalyst campus for technology innovation, which I'm okay broadcasting because those guys are a hoot. And yes, that is a vehicle we need. But of the 8 people, I really was taken aback at my own behavior of how I was the collaborative one, how I was the creative one.
Mm.
I quickly made 7 other enemies right then and there, even though we're all supposed to be frenemies. Not competing companies, but friendly companies, because they recognized, oh, this guy is also divergent thought, creative, and curious, and a collaborator. It makes for a whole unique type of person.
Right. Right.
We're not getting those in society and saying, hey, let's go work. Like, not just saying, hey, let's go work here, but being invited to work somewhere.
Right.
Well, if you were 18 years old, wouldn't you be floored, if not a bit jaw drop speechless, if CISA showed up at your parents' door and says, hey, we'll pay you $150,000. Can you come work for us?
I wouldn't hate it.
You wouldn't hate it. I would do it too. You wouldn't hate it. And you'd be like, huh, I'll try that. But we're not good at even doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same reason I joined the Navy. I didn't do it for ideological reasons. I needed money for college, and honor, courage, commitment was a distant 3rd, 4th, and 5th for me. It was like, I just want to get the hell out of Missouri, and I want some money for college. And I did both of those, and honor, courage, commitment was the other stuff. So, I did 7 years, and well, I'm here now because of a lot of that. And yeah, I mean, there's a, we're and it's not all doom and gloom. If you're watching this, it's not all doom and gloom, but we're not people. We're not people.
It's not doom and gloom because there's also a few of us like this guy, like others, helping out to ensure that it's not doom and gloom.
Right.
That are getting in front of the political creativity chasm and saying, hey, let's solve this before it becomes even bigger.
Right. Right. I think one of the last, I don't want to say last, but I think one of the legitimate ways to get into security would be compliance, GRC stuff. I mean, you have to write rules for things. NIST just came out with their AI risk management framework for that. If you have an organization that's going to be using that, that would be, a good place to be involved with the process. If you don't know how to do AI, at least, be able to speak to how you can help people secure that or follow NIST guidelines. I think compliance and GRC is still probably a fairly stable way of getting into security without necessarily, knowing how to pop shells or what have you. It gives you the ability to work adjacent to those folks, and you can, pop shells in your own time or, get information and learn from those folks. And glean information from them. I think compliance is probably still a good way of doing that in many cases. It may not be glamorous, but it pays bills. And
It can pay you a bill. Yeah, you can eat.
right,
You can eat
right.
it well.
That's right. Yeah.
You can you can have like $80 dinner dishes and be like, wait, fine.
Yep. Yep. Especially if you work for one of the big four. Pea shivers.
But
Yep.
I think as much as, not to go down that rabbit hole, but the CMMC, that's not a solution. It's good to get your teeth there, but as far as the more stuff I probably can't be talking about, but even there, the compliance education gap is pretty bad on being able to audit systems
Right.
to even know what you're looking at.
Right.
I mean, scores going from 110 to negative 56 because we had an actual auditor.
Mm.
And that's not a small jump
Right.
in just compliance.
Yep.
It's like something like 40% of companies that get an ISO fail the ISO the very next year. They fail to get it.
Well, it's a point in time thing, right? It's like PCI. You're PCI compliant that day. Boom. The minute you make a change, technically you're not PCI compliant anymore, unless you follow all of the. Yeah. And what's the adage I keep hearing? Anybody who's breached was never PCI compliant in the first place. So,
I haven't heard something like that. I don't know. But I do know part of what I do know is that 9 out of 10 fully compliant are breached. And whatever compliance you use, like 9 out of 10 are breached.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Well, I think
scary. Go ahead, Brian.
In the Verizon database, Verizon report, right?
Yeah, the
companies that they have investigated because of a breach, none of them that were breached. I'm sorry. All of them that were breached were not PCI compliant at the time of the breach. Right?
Yeah, I think that was my point. Yeah, if you were breached, you probably weren't PCI compliant at the time.
Well, yeah, they didn't have their compliance at that time. In other words, when you get your compliance, it lasts a year. They didn't have a PCI compliant, their attestation at the time of the breach. And now it's just, it's just one statistic, but it is interesting that out of all of the investigations that they've had, none of them were PCI compliant at the time that the breach occurred.
It's interesting.
So what you're saying is there's room for compliance people to come in and make smarter compliance requirements, or to help secure those environments. Yeah.
I mean, it helps, right? And then you need that to justify your security program. Hey, we need to hire so and so because we need a SIM. It's required.
Yep.
Yeah. As an industry, we're not getting away from SIMs and compliance. I wish some of us would change the way it goes, but we're going down that compliance road.
Right. Well, SIMs give us visibility, right? SIMs give us visibility, and as you so eloquently blogged, crime happens in areas of low visibility. So the SIM gives us the visibility we need, or hopefully you need, to shine a light in those dark corners.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, I've been neglecting our chatters. Is anybody have any questions? Super Lolly, Cactus Creates, thank you for coming. Digital Warhead, anybody? Anybody have any questions?
I've been one of those people who took apart the phone. I've taken apart several phones, many in fact. I've taken apart TVs, dishwashers, computers, and everything. Even like this old car that we have had a coolant leak. And so, well, I was on a mission, and this is a photo so far of the inside of the car. You'll notice here are the gas pedals. There is no steering wheel. I have had to take apart everything inside the car, just keep going and digging and digging. Apparently there's a thing where steam comes in and heats the air, right? That goes through, that blows through like a heat sink.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to get that out because it has a leak in it, right? And it drains into a pan, a plastic pan, and then there's a little hole in the front that goes outside of the firewall and drains out. And so I've had to take everything out, but it's interesting.
You can put this thing back together, right?
Well, the back seat is completely full of crap. The trunk is completely full of crap. I've got a bunch of screws everywhere. I've taken lots of photos so I can hopefully get it back together. But there's like 200 pieces.
You didn't say yes right off the bat, so I'm like, oh, ooh.
Yeah, I know. Perfect line.
Yeah. Yeah, Super Lolly. It's going to be an expensive experience. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it would have been expensive had I taken it in because they would have had to do the same thing professionally, of course, but it would have probably cost $2,500 to replace a $50 piece of equipment.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, as long as the steering wheel's...
My point is,
yeah.
You know, some people would have paid the $2,500.
Yeah.
I'd rather have an interesting project, even though I have no time for it. I just have to do it anyway. You know, I just have to.
Makes sense.
Sure, but that system's, bravo, but I don't know too many people taking apart their Bosch controller of their car. I'm okay saying that out loud because Bosch is a company that doesn't want to talk about security. They know there's holes. They don't care to fix them in as much that no one's looking. Not many people are looking.
Right. Is it impact in that case? I mean, is it the fact that, you know, they're going to own a singular Bosch thing inside the, I mean, I can understand maybe the issue if they could do it at scale or they could send it over, you know, the Wi-Fi or cellular connection to the car, to the, you know, to the device and brick thousands at a time or something. But if you own that one system, then you own that one car out of millions.
Yeah. And the only car that's Wi-Fi OTA capable that's common, not the Fiskars, but the Tesla. So no, everyone's looking at the Tesla. No one's looking at Benzes, Jags, Volvos,
right?
Fords, Chrysler. They're all looking. They don't.
Guess what I found in this car, and I wouldn't have found it had I not taken it apart. There's actually, it looks like an old-timey hard drive, you know, spindle drive, about that thick, practically the exact same size as a spindle drive. It's called a remote start box. I had no idea it was in there. Remote start. Why would I need somebody to start my car remotely? I mean, maybe it's for unlocking the car, but it doesn't say remote unlock. It says remote start.
No, so I had remote start.
Remote stop.
I had a remote start in my car where I had a thing on my dongle that would start my car for me. Is that that's what you're talking about? No? Oh, okay.
Nope. The key doesn't have a starting feature at all.
Like an OnStar kind of thing? Like where OnStar could start your car for you if you've lost your car key or?
No. Nothing like that.
Interesting.
I'm going to have to look it up.
Your car and see what's in there.
Say what?
You should look at use Ghidra or IDA or Alibug and see what the processes.
Yeah. There you go.
Entry are on your car.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's an older car. It's a 2011.
Hmm.
So
I've got to beat with the 2007. No contest. There's more electronics in it that are scary. But
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I'm working with one gentleman out of Carnegie Mellon to do that, securing cars, because the aforementioned company doesn't want to talk, or at least
Hmm.
have any fluid conversation on any research.
They don't want to do anything to upset the cart, kind of like, it that would require them to fix or cause massive amounts of development time to address, an issue, and then, have to push it out to the fleet, which, then is more time and effort, and it's a long-term thing. That's the only thing I could think of in that case. They, it would be prohibitively expensive for them to fix something that you might find in about 2 minutes, depending on where you're looking.
Full stop. Yes.
Yeah.
It would shut down their whole business operations. They'd have to retrofit their whole business operation.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
They're actively not curious.
Ignorance is bliss. So, yeah.
Ignorance is sometimes bliss. Yeah, I had this conversation, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. It can be, but it's dangerous.
Sure.
It's really dangerous. The more you know doesn't necessarily help you.
Yeah.
You can't forget things easily.
That's true. And I want to say things like this erode trust of companies, but I've been saying it for a few years now, and I actually had to try to tell some people that I was doing a tech edit of a book for that reputational damage doesn't exist. Because that was what we used to, that was the big thing we used to try to, as security people go, oh, well, the media will, will lambaste us and whatever. And it's like, no, they don't care anymore. I mean, the way citizenry works, somebody does something over here and, by the time the next media cycle comes around, they've completely forgotten. I mean, there is no reputational damage. Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
I had a conversation. Luckily, me, I forget where I was, but it was if you dox yourself, and if you give away your passport or driver's license, and you give up ownership, effectively give up ownership of that assigned ID.
Right.
And they were actually saying, well, no, you're wrong, John. It does affect you. I'm like, but it doesn't. I didn't make it. It's tied to me. I just go get a new one. It's your data that's tampered.
Right.
They didn't like the conversation. It wasn't built that way. Because we're using driver license IDs that they did in 1950, I think. I don't know when.
I was wondering about this the other day. We didn't have data breaches until we had computers.
We didn't have identity problems until we had computers. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That is a very true statement.
I've got to get you guys a link to my closing keynote presentation at Security B-Sides Montreal, where I really drop into the small percentage of proactive efforts that you can do to mitigate other companies' actions that don't have your interest in mind.
Yeah, I would definitely like to have that. We could add it to the show notes and make sure we get it out to all of our social medias there. So when is B-Sides Montreal?
September 16th.
Oh, okay.
B-Sides MTL.ca.
Right. Montreal's a lovely city. I would go back there. It's been a few years since I've been there, but yeah.
Talking to Canadian friends, it's been roughly 26 years.
Oh wow! So
going
actually,
by 3 years.
2000. I think it was 2000. It had to have been 2005 for me because my daughter was Yeah, she was in the Pepe Le Pew skunk costume for our Montreal trip. So, yeah, it's been since 2005. So not 26 years, but yeah, almost as much for me. So yeah,
1997.
yeah, okay, nice,
Been a bit.
nice.
I
Yeah,
think it's better. I don't know. Most things have, except the internet kind of hasn't. So I'm glad to
yep,
see that dwell time has gone down, but up, but then down.
yeah. Dwell time on
It's
what? Like on
a breach.
videos or?
The dwell time on a breach, where
Oh, I see.
an entry to a system where the attacker just kind of dwells there before a seam can even take note of the event,
Right.
where they're still
Oh,
there watching it for 270 days or 240 days because they don't know how to get rid of you.
right. Right.
And not to
Oh, I wish I had
broadcast what
that.
I built, but yeah, we have that issue.
Right.
We have issues like that everywhere,
Mm.
and
I
it's
think I
about
talked
time
about.
we have millisecond issue response.
Mm. Yeah, I think I talked about that. Somebody had published yet another report, not DFIR or anything like that, but it was like, yeah, they sometimes they don't catch the initial break in; they catch, the brokered access that somebody had, where they didn't catch the persistence. They caught when the people who had your persistence sold your access for 20 cents or whatever, and then they start making noise because this guy isn't as quiet as this person here. So, yeah.
Yeah, like the developers in Brain and Lahore, it's all changed.
Yep. Yeah. It's gotten less
More
friendly.
users. Yeah,
Yeah.
more users. There's a lot of us now, but
Right.
with more users, we have more education gap too.
Right. Right. Yep. And now we're back to the education gap.
Yeah, so we're gonna be stuck there.
Feedback loop. Yeah. So, it's always great talking to you, John, and Mr. Betcher, of course. So I'm not so much on X as I used to be because they took away my TweetDeck access. So, we're going to probably kill the BreakSec X account because, frankly, we never got a lot of engagement from it anyway. But so where's everybody going in terms of social media? Mr. Betcher, are you on LinkedIn? John, I know you're on LinkedIn, but I mean, what do you use outside of what used to be
LinkedIn.
X or Twitter? Yeah, LinkedIn?
Outside of, yeah, I don't even like saying X anymore. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like
Cesspool?
ex-girlfriend or ex-wife, ex-fiance. It's like,
Yeah.
it's actually ex-Twitter.
X social, X Twitter. Ah, very nice. Yeah. I find Mastodon works for me because there's a lot of people on there with really odd points of view or takes about things like security. And they give me a lot of fodder for streams because I can rant about those things on there. Like, everyone should have a password manager. And I was like, sounds good, except, my mother goes to 2 websites and she's not going to pay $39.99 a month for 2 websites, one of them which is Amazon and the other one is Walmart. And it's like, there's no reason for her to do so. I mean, writing them down on a piece of paper in her house, she's 7 billion people safer that don't have access to her passwords at that point. So it's like, I wanted to discuss with that person, but I knew that I was probably a losing battle. But I get a lot of takes like that where, it's people think, well, it's not Twitter and I'm not some InfoSec thought leader, so I can just say what I want on here. And I was like, okay, yeah. But, some people are going to call you on it anyway. So, yeah.
I still have my Twitter company account. I still have my personal account on Twitter, X. Where I go, I think we're getting washed out to.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think LinkedIn is going to be where this age group just kind of washes out too.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Facebook. It's not going to be TikTok. It's not going to be Instagram. It's not going to be whatever else.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to look up how to disable, if not delete, my Facebook account. Like, I just don't want it anymore.
Right.
But I don't
Yeah.
want to lose my Messenger access to my friends around the world.
Mm.
So, like, how do you do that?
I don't think you can. I think you will have a
don't
Facebook account of some kind. Yeah.
I agree with you. Not it. I agree with you. I think you're stuck. So that
Yep.
forces me to double stack routers at this address to defend against other stuff.
Yep. Yep.
So I put on Reddit, and this guy said, "You have 2 routers, pick one." I'm like, I did not go give him the, maybe you both have seen it, the Twitter picture of like guarding against the US, guarding against the EU, guarding against the Russians, the Chinese,
Right. Yep.
Palo Alto, your Cisco, your
That's right.
PSense, your
Yeah.
just leave alone.
Yeah. The loss of Twitter probably
LinkedIn is
affect.
probably the best way.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, Twitter. The InfoSec community started on Twitter, and it's fracturing because everybody's going to Blue Sky, or they're going to Threads, or they're going to Mastodon, or InfoSec.exchange appears to be the most popular Mastodon instance. But yeah, it's like it's fractured everything, which may be actually, I think, good in some cases.
I have an account on Mastodon as a company, I think. I don't think I have a personal identity.
Mm.
To that end, I don't know if, how would you say that? If other people know of my social identity, know of that vehicle to find me at.
Ah, okay. Otherwise, they can look you up on LinkedIn and reach out.
Go to LinkedIn.
Yeah, go to LinkedIn. It's the safer, easier option. If they can do halfway decent, OSINT collection, they can figure out who you are. So, yeah. So, Mr. Betcher, you're on LinkedIn then? Yeah, now I don't see much on Twitter or X Twitter or what. Ouch. So
I think I like X Twitter. It does both. That's
right. X Twitter. Yep. Yeah. And it actually serves a third purpose, so it's kind of funny, but yeah. So, all right. Podcast, website, breakingsecurity.com, BRAKEING security.com. I'm on Mastodon at Brian Brake at mastodon.social. And Miss Berlin, you can find her at InfoSystir, INFOSYSTIR, pretty much anywhere there's social media, so you can go check her out, see what she was doing. I'm learning DaVinci Resolve.
Her like on the road, like a road.
That's
report.
not safe. If she was talking on the phone while she was driving, it'd be technically illegal, I think. That's so. It. Oh, that's true. Everybody's got the Bluetooths in their car now, so yeah, including my Tesla, which John knows intimately about breaking stuff in it. So. Right on. All right.
Access to your car, so we're fine.
That's okay. The stunt hacking I've seen from my Tesla is the Flipper Zero folks going, watch this, and then they make my charge port open. That's all I've seen so far, thankfully. So we're okay. We're okay. Anyway, John, it was awesome to see you. Thank you again for coming on and spending some time with myself and Mr. Betcher. Mr. Betcher, sir, we don't talk as much as we should. We should be in each other's hip pocket all the time. And I miss talking to you, online. So
yeah,
you got me. You just hit me up. So.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that was it for our show this week. Hope you have a great week. Be kind to one another. Take care of yourselves. And as we're fond of saying around here, you're the only you have. So, we'll talk to you soon and take care. Bye, y'all.